Boss Rush 620, Day 6. Now, Day 6 is basically the same as Day 5. We've got Raven the Hunter as the first boss again, and then the last boss leaves a guy on the bench, so instead of fighting Medivh, you have to fight a super buffed blue orc from the Ursula Windfury encounter. But that one's very easy, so it's just the time it takes to actually deal damage to kill it. So very similar to Day 1 and 2, where we just had Babbling Book repeated, we have Raven the Hunter repeated here on Day 6. So we got the double Déjà Vu week here. But for our comp, we're running the same thing that we did yesterday. So if you're not strong enough to run this comp, where we use Khadgar, Medivh, and Genn, and just tank a hit from the cleave guy, then you would just want to bring Elise in place of the third artillery strike. So you just cut one of these artillery strikes, probably the Edwin, and then put Elise in for your opener. But you can also check out the Day 5 video if you want to see how that one plays. I'm just going to use this one because it's a bit better comp. So we're using Bitter Chill, Unstable Runes, Downward Dog, Kilnay and Strength, Round of Drinks, and I've just got the Scout Spyglass, but it doesn't matter what you use here. So exactly the same as yesterday. If you've got Elise, you just root with her on 1 and Hearthfire, kill off your Arfus. And then if you're not using Elise, we root on 1, we taunt something, kill off Arfus, and then turn 2 we use a Genn taunt and taunt our counter ward to block the greens. And then if the counter rune dies, then the cleave can get through and hit your guys, so you need to be able to survive that. So since the attack on the greens is too high for me to keep this ward alive through one of the hits, I'm just buffing health on Khadgar on turn 1 instead. But if their attack is low enough on the greens that you can actually absorb one of the hits and then tank a second hit, you can go ahead and taunt the Arcane Ward. So this turn we taunt the ward, make a summon. And they can also use a swipe on these turns where you don't even have to take the hit, which he did this time. So as you can see, we took almost no damage. Alright, so now we're just spamming Blizzard every turn, summoning birds, and then on the last turn we're going to kill off our Khadgar. So I like to kill the middle and the right hand guy. Putting my red damage into the green and then critting with our birds on the red boss. I'm going to go ahead and soften up Khadgar a little bit because he's got a lot of hit points here. It's actually a little bit easier if the attack does get through, because then your Khadgar is already weakened a bit and you don't have to put as much bird damage into him. Okay, we're going to shoot our bigger bird here, and then I'm going to put this bird into Khadgar again. Just keep in mind the first bird that you shoot with is going to get the crit from the Medivh ability. So you want to put that into an enemy. Otherwise it'll get wasted if you shoot at your own guy with that shot. Alright, so Khadgar should be low enough now. These birds will be pretty big by the end, so I'll be able to one-shot him. And just be careful with your health values that you don't finish off the last guy before you kill your Khadgar. So this should be fine. I think this thing survives, but we'll just kill it next turn. We don't have a root this turn, but this thing will be slow enough that it doesn't matter. Alright, so now we just need an artillery strike, and then we just fight the last blue orc behind the counter rune. And Alaneth is probably the best one to get on Medivh, so that's a pretty ideal treasure roll off the first boss there. So the artillery strike requirement's not too bad. We got 180 here on Nightbane. I think it's 150 on Snowclaw, and then the last boss isn't too bad either. I think it's like 200 or something on the last boss. I already have an artillery strike, so I'm just going to take this. So easy 150 for Snowclaw, and then so this one was 200 and then 250 for Ursula. So on this one, make sure you put your Medivh on the right. And we're gonna kill off both of the other mercenaries that we put into play here. Make space for extra birds, because birds do more damage than these guys. Okay, so 25,000, almost 26,000 HP here. So you do get to act every turn. This is the reason we put the Medivh on the right, is it's going to force your counter ward to attack things, because we're going to let that attack go through. It's going to do nothing with Rogers this turn, and we just health buff our counter rune whenever we need to so that we can act. Okay, same thing there. And I guess this is fine to use. You don't really have to do that though. I'm getting a bird out. That did make us take more damage on our ward here, because Medivh has higher attack than this bird. Okay, so whenever you get the flurry, you just act at 6 speed or slower. And then on all the potion turns, you're able to do whatever. Just make sure that you buff the health on your arcane rune enough. It should be fine if I summon a bird this turn. I do have to buff my ward soon. Okay, and we don't get to act with Medivh. So the next non-flurry turn, I'm going to kill off Rogers. I could like shoot my own guy to get a bird out this turn, but I'm just going to wait since we got unlucky with the flurry cast. Because we're just going to kill off Rogers with the, or the alliance cast. Delayed my bird a turn though. So I can, this is only 35, I got 36, so you might need a mage guard here, but I'm going to get a bird out instead, so I'm going to swing with Rogers and summon a bird. And I'm going to transform Genn, because I want to kill him off on the next time we can summon a bird. Got our little bit of For the Alliance damage in here. Okay, so now we're just acting at 6 speed. And I don't want to attack with Genn yet, because if I do, it'll bring out my Edwin off the bench, which is another mercenary I'd have to kill off. So I'm just going to wait with him, and then we're going to swing with him and summon a bird when we have a bird summon available. Which is now. Alright, so now we're just acting at 6 speed whenever there's a flurry, and then whenever we get potions, we can buff our HP on this counter rune. He's really not wanting to use the, or she, I guess. I think it's a female orc. No, that is a male orc, huh. There is a blue potion that just copies, it's the Potion of Illusion, I think. It just copies friendly units, but there's no other friendly units, so it doesn't do anything. So if this guy would use that more often, then we could get some more damage in here. I think it's completely random. There's 3 abilities. It's the Potion of Illusion, I think it's Potion of Madness, and the Flurry, and I think they all have equal odds. So it's just a 1 in 3. Yeah, there's the Potion of Illusion. So I don't actually have to ever buff that thing's health unless he uses the Potion of Madness again. So I'm just going to get my crit here instead. And remember to queue up your most ramped bird after using Arcane Rift. And I'm still trying to summon birds, even though my board's full, because I have the Aluneth. Because that does give him the extra arcane ramp. If I didn't have Aluneth, though, you could just pass with Medivh on all these flurry turns. Oh, he just didn't cast any more Potions of Madness after that opener. So that should take care of him. So, decent-ish farm day if you can't do day 2 fast enough and reliably enough. But we didn't really ever get a great farm day this week, so it's up to you if you wanted to run the Raven the Hunter on day 5 or day 6. You either have to kill Medivh or this orc at the end. You could bring Malchezaar and All Realities this last guy, but then you reduce your artillery strike odds, so it's not really that much of a gain to do that. If any, it may actually be a overall time loss if you were farming this in order to run that comp. But the requirement to farm on day 2 is quite high, so if you don't have the strong enough Geddon and Belinda to make that one a consistent farm, then maybe one of these day 5 or day 6 Raven farms will be your go-to. For this day 2, though, I have also been playing around with Varden, and if you get this Band of Frost leveled up, Varden is actually quite competitive with Geddon for damage. I've been leveling this up. I actually want to get this as high as my Geddon can flag equipment, So we might be using Varden more in the future now that this equipment is finally fixed, because this thing is very strong. The biggest downside with using this on day 2, though, is the randomness of the flurry hits, so you can't control as well what order the enemies die in, so that you have like the fork to help you with your own cleanup. But by the end of the fight, you've ramped your frost damage so much that your Belinda can just shoot your own guys for like 400 plus damage with the frost art. And my Varden at rank 30 here is not quite strong enough for it to be strictly better than Genn, but it's starting to get up there. So by the time I've got this at rank 40 or rank 50, which is more on par with the amount of investment that I currently have in Genn. So, you know, if it was at rank 46 and had the same amount of investment as this can flag, I think Varden is actually pretty comparable to Genn, and if we get fights that are more favorable to Varden, where you can actually cold snap more easily, or you have an extra party slot where you could potentially fit in Localar to benefit from all that frost ramp, it is possible that these frost comps start outpacing the Genn comps for damage dealt. So that's something to keep an eye on for the future. I know it is expensive to get your Varden up this high, and you're going to want to get like 15 in all the upgrades, so that Varden has enough HP to survive things. So it is fairly expensive, but now that this is fixed, they are a mercenary to keep in mind going forward. Good luck on your run.